Welcome into another episode of Always Talking Ball. Tyler Noe, Lance Barton. Next on our list of conference previews is America's Conference, the Conference of Chaos. Yes, it is the Big 12 Conference. We going to be able to predict anything going on in this conference this year? I mean, it was unpredictable last season, that's for sure. Can Arizona State, can they repeat? Can Utah, can Oklahoma State, can they bounce back from just very uncharacteristic seasons? Does this conference have the best overall depth of quarterbacks in the entire country? We're going to answer all those questions, man. And even though I am scared, you know what list of this conference, we're going to attempt to give you some win total bets to place to hopefully win you a little Christmas shopping money when they cash in late November. Speaking of Christmas in August, man, Lance, let the people know about our new partnership.
Guys, okay, look, football season's right around the corner. It's still summertime as well. I mean, I know when we're all out having a nice little cold beverage, whether that be a beer, a seltzer, or even an energy drink or something, we all like carrying around like some type of a koozie to put it in. And seriously, like Frost Buddy is so legit. It's one of the most premium of that type of like drink holders that you'll ever see. Like it's better than Brewmate. It's better than Yeti. You can literally put a seltzer, a 12-ounce beer, a tall boy, or an energy drink, whatever that may be, all in one in a Frost Buddy. And you can head over to frostbuddy.com/ATB. That's frostbuddy.com/ATB. Or you could take a look at the top right of this screen of that beautiful QR code that Tyler here has added where it says Frost Buddy there, and that'll take you straight to frostbuddy.com. They're also on social media. You can check them out on social media. And we're talking about the Big 12 today. Look, they've got Arizona State. They've got Arizona, Kansas State, Kansas, Colorado, Iowa State, and much more that you could go and get your favorite team's Frost Buddy. And again, they've got teams from the Major League professional teams. They've got multiple other college teams that you could go get your favorite Frost Buddy on. And again, after you go and check out, this is what's really cool. After you go and check out, when you are done buying your new Frost Buddy, they will give you a 30%, either like a prepaid card that you can choose, a 30% discount prepaid card they'll send you in the mail, or an online store credit that you can use towards your next purchase. And I'm serious, guys. These are absolutely incredible. We don't just endorse anybody on here. This was something that we, Tyler and I both, love to death. We love using it. We think you will too, your wives, girlfriends, friends, whoever that may be. Again, frostbuddy.com/ATB or the QR code here at the top right for Frost Buddy. Go check them out.
All right, man. Let's bring in our guest. Let's talk to Jake, and let's try to win some money for these people with some Big 12 win totals. All right, joining us today is a good friend of the show. This man is a man who has elite ball knowledge of the entire landscape of college football. The host of Crain and Company that airs 3 p.m. Eastern daily on YouTube. Our good buddy and a man of the people, Jake Crain. Welcome in.
What is up, boys? Yeah, I always say I only know 4 things, and they all start with F, so football happens to be one of them. But no, I appreciate y'all having me and enjoying y'all's content, man. Y'all doing a really good job.
Yeah, we're trying, man. We're trying out here. Hopefully Shannon Terry will notice one of these days. You never know. So,
look, just keep chopping, bro.
Yep. All right, let's get into the Big 12 conference, man. This is a conference. It's America's conference, a conference of chaos. I mean, honestly, if a conference were to take place in Gotham City, it would be the Big 12 conference. I mean, it's just madness, as we saw last year with BYU and Arizona State kind of coming from the back of the pack. What do you see this year? Just kind of what's your overall things you're looking for in the Big 12?
Well, I mean, I think you're right. This could be not that it's the best conference. This could be the most exciting and from top to bottom, the most competitive conference. I mean, look at last year, where Arizona State and BYU ended up in the preseason polling. It was totally flipped on its head. So I'm excited for that. I don't think we're going to know until the last possible second who will be playing in that Big 12 Conference Championship game. And you think the winner of that may be the only Big 12 team that gets in when you look at some of these schedules and some of the non-cons. But I tell you, whenever I look at the Big 12 and the ACC, the first thing I'm looking at is which teams have the line of scrimmage to be able to not only compete in the college football playoff, but put themselves in a position to win a national championship. Is there any of them? I thought that was the biggest surprise last year with Arizona State and Texas, that Arizona State was able to hold up along the line of scrimmage for as long as they did. So which of the teams in the Big 12, because those are going to be the only teams that have a chance to, if they get there, even if it's just one, be able to win and move on. We're not going to know the answer to that yet. I've got a couple on the top of my head that I'm interested to look at that I think could possibly do it, but that's going to tell the story. It's not just quarterback. There's wide receivers and DBs running all around that league. It's up front where it stops and starts.
Yeah, Jake, I don't disagree, man. I mean, there's multiple teams that is absolutely bolstering up the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball through this transfer portal era. Like a team like Texas Tech obviously comes to mind, for example, what they did through the transfer portal. But I'm just curious what your thoughts are as far as like the overall QB depth in this league. Tyler and I have talked about that. We think that the overall depth at the quarterback position, not talking about like what they're going to be in the NFL or like NFL draft prospects, just actual like production and play on the field at the college football level. Like the Big 12, in our opinion, has the most depth in the like so far, because like the SEC and other conferences, like some of the best teams in the country, are breaking in new quarterbacks that we don't necessarily have the proven production yet. You've got guys like Sam Levitt, Baron Morton, Sawyer Robertson, Devin Dampier, Josh Hoover. The list goes on and on. Do you think this is
Rocco Beck? Yeah,
exactly Rocco Beck, Jalen Daniels? I mean, it's just it's ridiculous, the depth in this league. Do you agree or disagree with that, Jake?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we know more about more guys at quarterback in this league from the top to the bottom than we do in any of the other three power conferences. And again, I do think there's a chance, because young quarterbacks go up and down. Everybody's not going to come in and ball. Everybody's not going to come in and be terrible. You go through the ups and downs. You just hope that you can get away with the downs in the games that be able to survive them. But when you look at the Big 12, it's not just that we know about them. It's that they're talented. I mean, we know Josh Hoover can dress up like a raccoon or a furry or whatever, but I still know when Oh Boy gets behind center, he knows how to do some things. You look at Jalen Daniels, who's able to stay healthy last year for the most part. We know what he can do. Rocco Beck's a guy that's not getting enough love at Iowa State that I think is an absolute gamer. And I think there's a lot of what him and Diego Pavia do that are very, very similar. Sawyer Robertson, who came in out of nowhere last year for Baylor when DeQuan Finn went down after transferring from Mississippi State, and did some really good things. And then you mentioned Dampier. He's another guy that when I look at this Utah team and what they've gone through the past 2 years with the uncertainty of Cam Rising, now that that's out of the way, not that Dampier is going to go and be an 8-time Pro Bowler or that he's some unbelievable passer of the ball, but he does enough with what Utah does around him and how physical they are to really move the ball forward for Utah and get them back to where they were when they were dominating the Pac-12. So, yeah, and there's more on the list. Again, it's not just that we know more about them. This could actually be the conference with, as grammatically wrong as this is, the most best quarterbacks, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense, man. And like before we get into some of the win totals and whatnot, obviously last year we saw that Arizona State, BYU, they were preseason predicted to finish in the bottom of the league. Came out of nowhere. BYU ended up having a 10-win season. Arizona State wins the dang thing. And so do you think that there are some sleeper teams this year in the Big 12? Like if you had to name some, like they could come from that's kind of right now being predicted in the bottom of the pack that might be able to make some noise. Like, now we've got new coaches like Scott Frost at UCF, who's back at UCF for another dance there. You've got Rich Rod at West Virginia. We know that Rich Rod knows what it looks like to be successful in Morgantown. Do you think that there is a team in the bottom of the Big 12 that can come up and make some noise this year?
Well, as somebody that, excuse my language, took a couple ass weapons from Willie Fritz,
Hey.
I look at this Houston team, and you look who transferred in, the personnel that they have. I think they're going to be better at quarterback. And I know Willie, once he gets his guys in there and that culture gets set, and the talent that is just walking around Houston. And you look at this schedule, guys. You start out with Stephen F. Austin at home. You go to Rice. You get a winnable game in Colorado, I think, this year at home, even though I think Colorado is going to be better up front. You go to Oregon State, which I think is winnable. Then you have Texas Tech at home. You get Arizona at home. You get West Virginia at home. You get TCU at home. Couple tough road games. We'll see what Oklahoma State is, but you go to Arizona State. You go to UCF, getting them at the right time in Scott's first year back. And then you go to Baylor to end the year. I would not be shocked if we looked up and this Houston team was 4-0 and hosting Texas Tech in a bigger game than what people thought it would be, because not enough people are talking about Houston and Willie Fritz and putting enough respect on his name. We can talk about Kansas State and Avery Johnson. I think he's going to evolve as a passer. We'll see how much. West Virginia's in their first year, and Rich Rod, he's got to get that culture right. Just ask him. But as far as teams that aren't getting talked about, are being talked about as a bottom tier team, watch out for Houston. I'm just telling you right now.
Well, Lance, what do you think about that, Houston?
I was going to say, man, Jake, it's like you've got our show notes or something right there in front of you, man. That'll just lead us right into our win totals segment here, man. We're going to give some win total predictions, some of our best bets. So try to win some people some money, some walking around money at the end of November when these things cash come Christmas time. I like Willie Fritz in Houston over 5.5, man, for all the reasons you just said. I think Willie Fritz is a hell of a coach. Bringing in Connor Wigman to the quarterback position, transferring in from Texas A&M. He lost my, I think he might be my second cousin because I love him so much, and Sheil Wood to Texas Tech. But I like what they did in bringing in Austin Armstrong. I know that it was kind of up and down his time at Florida, but when Kirby Smart and Nick Saban put their stamp on you as a coach, I'm going to believe then that they know what they're talking about with Austin Armstrong, that he's a heck of a defensive coach. And I like the offensive coordinator hire as well, because last year Houston was absolute just booty on offense, and Willie Fritz went back to the well and brought in a guy he's more familiar with, and Slade Nagel, who was actually the OC at Tulane when Tulane had that 11-win season with Michael Pratt at QB when they ended up playing USC in that New Year's Six Bowl. So again, they were awful on offense last year. I think the defense is still going to be solid, and they're going to continue that. I believe in Willie Fritz. So I like Houston over 5.5, man.
Look, I agree with you. I think it's a good bet. What's that going off at? Do you have what the number is on that? Is the money laying on the over? Do you have it, or is it laying on?
It was like minus. It was juiced. It was juiced like minus 155 last I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'd be crazy to buy that up to 6 if you could, to get it on an even number. What I am interested to see, my only reservation, I like Slade a lot, and Willie is going back to his roots. But with Connor Wegman, what Willie Fritz cut his teeth on was that spread option offense. You go back, the Georgia Southern teams used to kill us with it, just kill us with it. And it was kind of innovative back then. A lot more people do it now. But with Connor Wegman and his injury history and kind of his lack of mobility as a runner, what is the relationship between that style of offense and being able to present a legitimate threat as a quarterback in the run game? Or do you just kind of evolve it to be more pro style with some of those motion elements and eye discipline elements that you're trying to get laterally on the defense? So I'm always interested to see how you try and fit a square peg into a round hole. Sometimes you just got to shave off the edges of the square peg and it'll fit. So we'll see if they're able to do that at Houston. But I do like the over at 5.5.
All right, I'm going to start off in Waco. Win total is 7.5 for the Bears. They were 6-0 to end the year last year. I think it took a while for Jake Spavital's offense to kind of spark, as we saw with Sawyer Robertson and Bryson Washington and those guys. I like the over. They're third in conference, 9th in the country in returning production. They won 8 games last year already, and one of those losses, if you remember, was the Hail Mary against Colorado that Shadur threw at the that night game there in Boulder.
Yeah.
You mentioned Sawyer Robertson, man. He threw for over 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns. He took over in the third game starting. Bryson Washington was a freshman All-American. They got 4 of the 5 offensive line returning. Aranda took over on the D. The play calling on the D, there's still some room for improvement on that defense. But if you're going to trust anybody to help with the defense, it's got to be a guy like Dave Aranda. Looking at the schedule, you've got Samford at Oklahoma State, at Cincinnati, UCF at Houston, or at Houston at home, at Arizona. I mean, I'm not saying those are automatic wins for them, but you could win those 6 games pretty easily if you're Baylor. And then that means you got to win 2 games. Now they do have one of the toughest 2-game stretches to start the season up there with Notre Dame, Auburn at home, at SMU. And then they get Arizona State at home, Kansas State at home, Utah at home. So that's 3 tough games, but they're all at home at TCU. So I just think, an 8-4 season for a team that won 8 games last year is not asking too much for a team that I think they got the potential to win 10 games in my mind.
Yeah. You said it's 7.5.
Yeah.
You make some good points. This is a Step Brothers drum set situation for me. I'm not touching it. I don't care what time cops come on, because when I look at it, I do think there's some other you can get some more value out of some others. What scares me about Baylor, and again, I talked about Sawyer. I love what they did in the transfer portal at wide receiver as well. I think they're pretty deep. They got the best punt returner in the country coming back. Where I'm worried about Baylor is on the edge of line of scrimmage on both sides. Their guard and center three-man combination on the offensive line is really good, but there's a lot of questions at both tackle spots. On defense, they've got a couple guys in the interior of the D-line that I really like, but from a pass rushing standpoint, I still have a lot of questions. So when I look at this schedule and I'm trying to find the best over and unders to take, I do think there's a chance this team could start out 1-3. And if you start out 1-3, that would consist of only, one loss. If you lose to Auburn at SMU there in the ACC, then you get Arizona State at home, you lose that one. It's still only one Big 12 loss, and you can still possibly get to the playoff. But you're one loss away from being eliminated basically from it. And I don't know what happens after that K-State game if you're looking at 4 losses right there with this team going on the backstretch. Not that they'd quit. But then when you look at, if you'd have told me before last year that, hey, Jake, Baylor's going to turn it around this season and have a good year, get to 8 wins or whatever it was, including the bowl game, I think. And, coming off a 3-win season the year before that, I would have said they would have done it on the defensive side, that the defense was really solid. The offense had a really good run game. The play action game was working. DeQuan Finn went out there and made some highlight plays when they had to have it. But it wasn't that way. The defense was really bad. And while I like some of the additions, I don't know, again, if the edge of the line of scrimmage is good enough in this 12-game slate to get to 8, especially if it starts out bad. And you're going to have injuries. Somebody is going to go down. If the answer to that question is they have the dudes, it's a good bet. But I don't know that yet. And I do think there's some others on here once we get into them that I think may give you some better bang for your buck.
Honestly, man, I get the hesitation because, like I said, this conference scares the absolute you-know-what out of me.
Yeah.
And so trying to find win totals that you actually tried to really, really trust in this conference is really tough.
Well, yeah. Tyler, it's like look at Oklahoma State. They do their best when everybody thinks they're going to suck.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at the schedule, and that's, coming off playing Auburn at home, which is going to be tough. At SMU is not, what it used to be with Kevin Jennings. That's going to be tough. You're going to beat Stanford. But then you get Arizona State with Sam Leavitt and a healthy Jordan Tyson at home in a big game. And then it's at Oklahoma State. And then Kansas State comes in to run it right at your face for 4 quarters. And it's at TCU. I mean, this is – it's just none of these schedules are easy, but I feel like this one is front heavy. And front heavy schedules scare me with win totals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense, Jake. And I'm going to stay in the state of Texas and just go right down the road from Waco over to Fort Worth. And I am going to buy in on TCU. It's over 6.5. I would be comfortable buying it up to 7 as well with this team, because at 7, you still at least get a push out of it. But, I mean, man, Josh Hoover last year, he's the second leading returning passer in the country as far as yardage-wise, behind Garrett Nussmeier. The Frogs last year were a very quiet 9-win team. They finished the season 6-1 down the stretch last year. I like what they brought in the transfer portal, some proven production at wide receiver. They're bringing back Eric McAllister, which he was 10th in the nation last year at 19.5 yards a grab. And he led the nation with 90% of his catches last year. The dude was moving the chains. 90% of his catches last year were for first downs. But for whatever reason last year, Kendall Briles' offense there at TCU, they couldn't run the rock. They went out and added former Conference USA Freshman of the Year, Kavorian Barnes from UTSA, and they bring back a couple other guys as well from the roster. But what I like about this bunch, man, is DC, Andy Avalos was his first year's defensive coordinator last year at TCU. He was, again, like some of those first-year DCs last year that were taking over absolute dumpster fire situations, and they improved their defense immediately, like D'Anton Lynn at USC and Blake Baker at LSU, Andy Avalos at TCU. Well, I know didn't get the publicity that some of those other guys did, but they went from ranked 111th in the country to 12th in explosive pass plays given up last year. They were top 25 in yards per play, so they were much improved on that defensive side of the ball. They bring back some solid pieces there. From everything I heard out of Big 12 media days and stuff, they really like their defensive front. I know that we're in the off-season propaganda season. Everybody's excited about their team. But, again, I think they're going to be solid up front. They've got one of the best safeties and DBs in the Big 12, and Bud Clark, who's first team all Big 12. So when I go through the schedule here, I mean, again, right out of the gate, I don't know what TCU has done to garner the. They were Coach Prime's first game at Colorado, and then now they're Bill Belichick's first game when they play North Carolina in Chapel Thrill. But I still think TCU can win that one. But obviously, man, I don't know what. I mean, your guess is as good as mine on what we to expect with this North Carolina bunch. But overall, with this team, I like the fact that they get Baylor at home, they get Iowa State at home. They get Cincinnati at home. They've got some tough road games, obviously, at Kansas State and at Arizona State. I like the fact they get SMU and the Iron Skillet at home as well. I think this is I personally got them going 8-4 right now. So if you take the over 6.5, you've got a little bit of room to work with there. Again, if you buy it up to 7, there's a push there. So I like over 6.5 or buy it up to 7 with the Frogs.
Tyler, I swear I'm not playing favorites, but I had this one circled too. Look, if you're gonna get Bill Belichick, it's probably best to get him in year one. Again, it's gonna come down to how his girlfriend feels the day before anyway. So who knows? You get Abilene Christian at home, which is a win. You get SMU, which is going to be tough, but it is at home, which makes me feel better about it than who we were talking about before with Baylor that's got to play them on the road. Look, you brought up the 2 road games that really scare you, and that's at Arizona State and that's at K-State. So even if you chalk those up to a loss, you get Baylor at home, you get Colorado at home, you got 2 other road games, or 3 other ones, but I think they're the road games you want this year. At West Virginia, at BYU, now what happens with Retzlaff, and then at Houston, even though I think that game's going to be more dangerous than what people are thinking right now. Then you get Cincinnati home and Iowa State at home. I think this is one of the best bets in the Big 12. And remember, you look at TCU, and when you hear Sonny talk about it, he's pissed off that they've been out of the mix, right? And you feel like this is a year where they want to get back into relevancy. You can do that with a big win over North Carolina on the road in year one under Bill Belichick. I don't think you'd be crazy to buy this one up to 7.5. I really don't. I think 8-4 is very doable. I don't think if you're doing that, you're betting on TCU to beat North Carolina. Because if TCU beats North Carolina, I could see 9 wins on this schedule.
Yep. All right, I'm going to try one more. See if you like this one.
All right.
I'm going to go.
I hate it. I hate it already, actually.
I'm going to go Utah over 7.5. I'm tempted just to say Kyle Whittingham.
7.5? Wait, Utah 7.5?
Yeah, 7.5.
Oh, God, put the 401k on that one. Anyway, go ahead.
And by the way, real quick, Tyler, before you jump in here, this was one that I'm also all in on as well, Jake. I'm with him. But Tyler and I are both big fans of Kyle Whittingham in Utah, so I'm also in on this as well, over 7.5 with the Utes.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm tempted just to say Kyle Whittingham and just be done with it. That's my analysis. But I mean, you mentioned Devin Dampier. Morgan Scalley is gonna have that defense right, like he always does. I mean, you got to think surely their rash of injuries at the quarterback position and offensive side of the ball over the past 2 years, surely that's going to be over. Another storyline you could look at is, hey, is this Kyle Whittingham's last dance? Like he's talked about retiring and going out from Utah, for a couple of years. They've already named Scalley the, head coach in waiting there. So you just never know when this is going to be. I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to do some sort of retirement tour, but he's just some guys may know this is his last year. Maybe he goes out with a bang. I love the fact that Dampier is joined by his offensive coordinator. Everybody's talking about John Mateer. We are, you guys are, and he's got Ben Arbuckle coming with him, right? Nobody's talking about Jason Beck coming from New Mex with Devin Dampier and how much that's going to help him in the new look Big 12. So he's a guy that's just incredibly elusive. That offensive line already has 5 starters coming back. They have all 10 from their 2 deep coming back. So it's not like they need a bunch of help with guys like Spencer Fano up front, but elusiveness with Dampier is going to, I mean, I'd be shocked if they weren't in top 10 in sacks given up at the end of the year. Like this guy ran for nearly 1,200 yards last year. Yeah, he needs to cut down on the turnovers. He's a little careless with the ball, 12 interceptions, 7 fumbles. I think he can do it though under the right tutelage, but it would be nice for them to get that W right out of the gate at UCLA against Nico. That's one of the bets I've already placed. I got him when it was -1.5 Utah. Now it's -6.5 on the road at UCLA. I feel really solid about that. That probably means the Bruins are going to win. So that's great. But you got Cal Poly, you got Wyoming. Those are W's. Rice-Eccles Stadium is when the Utes are on, when the Utes are rolling. Yeah. That is a tough place to play. Colorado and Cincy coming to there. Those should be W's. That's 5 wins, right, that we're counting. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech, Arizona State, K-State all come to Salt Lake City. You go 2-1 of those games, that's 7 wins right there, meaning you need to get one on the road at either West Virginia, like you said, with Rich Rod, BYU, you don't know what's going on with Retzlaff and, how they're going to replace him, Baylor, and Kansas. So I think they get at least one of those, and that gets you to that 8 wins. But, I mean, with this Utah team, like if Dan Peter hits, like a lot of people think he could, like this could be the team that runs away with the Big 12 and heads to the college football playoff.
Without a doubt, it's almost one of those things where I look at 7.5, and that scares me. Actually, like, what do y'all know that I don't know? Because Vegas doesn't make a lot of mistakes when they put those two twins in that underground tunnel, put their hair together, and figure out what's going to happen. But when I look at the schedule too, you brought up Cal Poly, you brought up, I got a lot of respect for Wyoming and the way they play. I know that's a very elevated stadium, but Utah isn't exactly at sea level, I don't think. So I'm not as worried about that. But I think what Kyle Whittingham and the quarterback injuries is a Cam Rising thing, right? That's the common denominator here. Again, I wasn't a math major, but I do know what a common denominator is. I think this is going to be back to those physical Utah teams. That's what elevated them in the Pac-12. It's why they were winning Pac-12 titles. It wasn't because they had the best skill players all around, because they were the most physical up front, and they always have some exciting white running around the back end on defense that can make plays as well. But I think they're better than UCLA. I think you've got a good chance to start out 3-0, and then you get a Texas Tech team. And a lot of this is understanding, where it is on the schedule, when you play them, what they have coming next. Because you look at Texas Tech, with their schedule, which I know we haven't gone through yet. This is their first road game of the year. Officially. You start out with Arkansas Pine Bluff, you get Kent State, then you get Oregon State at home. This is your first road game of the year, and Morton's health does concern me. When he's healthy, he's Voldemorton's what I call him, but again, he's got to stay healthy. But when I look at the physicality of this Utah team, I think that's what sets them apart. They're going to get back to that. I think they've got as good a chance as anybody to win the Big 12. I love the way the schedule sets up. You talked about getting your tougher ones at home with K-State, with Arizona State, and with Texas Tech. That's huge. But then again, you look at Retzlaff leaving BYU and what that leaves what we thought would be possibly your toughest road game. Then you go to Baylor, and then you go to Kansas. You have an equal roster or better than them, and West Virginia as well on the road. I love Utah over 7.5. I think that's probably the best bet in the Big 12. But the fact that that's there scares me, because they didn't just pull that out of a hat.
Yeah, you got one more?
Yeah, Jay, you got time. Out of respect for time, you got one.
Yeah, I got one more.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just going to put my money where my mouth is on this one, man. I am going the opposite of being a contrarian. I am jumping all on board the Lubbock train. Give me Texas Tech. Give me Texas Tech over 8.5, man. I'm all aboard this train. I love the portal additions. Obviously, with that's been well documented all offseason. The top portal class in the country. They bolstered up both sides of the line of scrimmage, like big time through the portal. Baron Morton, experienced quarterback, he's back. I love the coordinator hires of Mac Leftwich from Texas State and Shield Wood from Houston. I mean, Shield Wood's been a DC for 5 years. He's never not had a top 35 defense everywhere he's been, like Army and Tulane and Troy, Houston, now Texas Tech. In regards to the schedule overall, I mean, the number one thing that jumps off the page, obviously, for me is the 3 road games at 3 of the toughest places to play in the conference when they play at Utah, they're at Arizona State, and they're at Kansas State. I think they're going to hold serve at home and win all their games in Lubbock. If they lose those 3 games, that's still 9-3, and that gets you over the 8.5. But like you said, the wild card is, with this roster, as talented as it really is, if they hit with these guys, I mean, they're the most talented team in the Big 12 now because of what they added. They could be a 10-2 type team. There's no reason at all that they can't win one of those 3 road games that we're talking about. But I think they hold serve at home at Jones AT&T Stadium this year, and they go 9-3, which gets you over to that 8.5.
I mean, it's you don't have to be Doctor Strange to figure out the if you can go 2 out of 3 at Kansas State, at Arizona State, and then obviously at Utah, you now hold the tiebreaker over 2 of those 3 teams. Which, even if you were to, I mean, and they're not going to, but even if you were going to lose to Oregon State, if we're talking about in the Big 12, you go 2 out of 3 against those and you win the rest of them, you are in the Big 12 championship game, which is going to give you the opportunity to make the college football playoff. But with Texas Tech, the difference, I think, will be the line of scrimmage. And that's what's going to be able to keep you in that Utah game. That's what's going to be able to keep you in that Kansas State game. And that could be what lets you possibly dominate that Arizona State game, because I'm still a little bit worried about Arizona State on the line of scrimmage. I know on offense, Levitt can get you out of a lot of trouble, but at the end of the day, Scatabo was huge for them as well. This Texas Tech team has the most potential. They do. You talk about if a quarterback hits, I would say if Texas Tech and Utah's quarterback hits, they're going to be the 2 best teams most likely in the Big 12. And you say, Jake, what about Kansas State and Avery Johnson? If Avery Johnson continues to progress, I think Kansas State can be really good, but I think that's the 3rd best roster when you compare them to Utah and Texas Tech. So it's unfortunate that you do have those 3 road games, but you truly control your own destiny when it comes down to winning a possible tiebreaker and getting into that Big 12 championship game. And if you're good enough to do that, you're good enough to beat the rest of the teams on that schedule, even the away ones that we didn't mention. So, again, it's all there. I love Joey McGuire. I think they've matched speed with power now, which obviously gives you an advantage. But it's going to come down to Baron Morton and his ability to stay healthy, because if not, they're going to have to water down what they do. It's going to put more pressure on that defense. And as better as Texas Tech's roster has gotten, I don't know if the depth on defense is to a point where you're going to have to be able to lean on them for 8 of those 12 games to be able to win the Big 12 championship if an offense freaks out on you at some point, which can happen at any point in time in the Big 12.
Jake, it's always a blast, man, when you stop by and come on the show, man. Thank you for coming on again. Let the people know where they can find you guys. Let them know what kind of things Crain and Company has cooking for this season.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, again, we love it like y'all love it. We had the luxury of being in it, coaching and playing or both. So we love talking about it. We're into prediction time now. We're doing our single team predictions. We've already done Alabama, Georgia, dropped Ohio State on Wednesday, Michigan on Thursday, going to do LSU on Friday, and then do 5 more next week. So if you're a bettor, if you want to, kind of learn more about either your team or a team that you're playing, head over to Crain and Company. We're going to live stream some of the biggest games and be talking about everything in the college football world. So come hang out with us. It's Crain. It's not spelled like the bird or the construction equipment. So just come over and hang out with us.
Jake, really appreciate it, man. It was a pleasure as always, and just elite ball knower, man. Appreciate you hopping on with us, bro.
Oh shoot, y'all are doing great too, man. I'm really proud of you guys, and anytime you need me, just hit me up.
Thanks, bro. All right, before we go here, Tyler, look, all we gave was overs, and I know it's positivity time. It's off-season propaganda. We love the Big 12. We're trying to be positive right now, so we gave nothing but overs. I got to be negative about one team though, man. And it's a coach that I honestly really like a lot, but I just think he's up against it in his first year. He's back dancing again with his original girlfriend. He's back at the dance down in Orlando in the bounce house at UCF. But, man, I think Scott Frost and UCF are going under 5.5 wins this year, man. Overall, their schedule is really tough. They lost so much in the transfer portal after Gus Malzahn left. And their roster was pretty much rated by a lot of different good teams across the country. Quarterback situation too. I mean, they brought in Taven Jackson from transfer from Indiana. He was a backup last year, played a little bit last year when Curtis Rourke got injured. Ja'Cory Brown, he played some last year. He transferred in from Miami originally to UCF. Wasn't very good when he played last year. Definitely wasn't good throwing the football. Decent in the run game. And then they brought in Cam Fancher, who transferred in, formerly at Marshall, formerly at FAU. It's kind of a 3-headed monster quarterback race that they've got going on there. A lot of people are projecting they think that Taven Jackson's going to win that job, but still the jury's out on that. Again, they brought in a ton of transfers. Now, that could be good. They all could hit. Some of them could hit, and that could be a good thing. But just overall, I think with the major roster turnover, the staff turnover, and bringing in Alex Grinch, I don't know how this guy continues to get Power 4 level defensive coordinator jobs as many times as he's failed in his career, to be honest with you. He may make me look stupid and go out and have one hell of a defense this year for the Knights. But I think Scott Frost will do a fine job at UCF overall like he did previously in the past. Man, I just don't think that this year, in his first year back at UCF in the Big 12 with as many good teams as we think they're going to be in the Big 12, especially with the quarterback play and the way the schedule sets up. They get Jacksonville State right out of the gate. Rich Rod's gone now from JSU to West Virginia. I think they'll get that one. I think they'll get the North Carolina A&T game. But they get North Carolina at home in the bounce house. Honestly, at this point, again, your guess is as good as mine on what we can expect.
That's a huge – I mean, that right there is a huge swing game.
It really is, man. They get a bye week before that too. But if they could somehow get that one, then maybe the 5 would be even with that, bro. Like, I'm still looking at this going, they're at Kansas State. Like, there's not a single game, not one game on their schedule after the Jacksonville State and North Carolina A&T game that I look at and go, that's a win. Like, there's not. And most of them I'm looking at going like, yes, I mean, you get North Carolina, you at Kansas State, you get Jalen Daniels and Lance Leipold in Kansas, you get them at home, but still, that's not a win. I'm not chalking that up as a win for UCF. They're on the road at historic Nippert Stadium against a Cincinnati team that we think is going to be a little bit improved this year, bringing back some solid production. You get West Virginia at home. That might be another one. Like, it's your best chance there with Rich Rod first year there at West Virginia. You get a bye week, but then you go to Baylor. I don't think they're winning that game. You get Houston at home. We just talked about how good we think Willie Fritz and Houston with Connor Wigman is going to be this year. You're at Texas Tech at Jones AT&T Stadium. You get Oak State at home. You know, we saw what they did to Oak State last time Oak State traveled there when they took care of business against Oak State, but still. And then they're at BYU and Elevation at the end of November. That's going to be a cold game at LaVell Edwards Stadium there in Provo. I mean, if I'm being optimistic, I think this UCF team, it could be 4-8, maybe 5-7 if you're being optimistic. And the win total is at 5.5. I think UCF's going under 5.5 this year. I hate to say that about Scott Frost and be negative about anybody, but I just don't think they're going over that 5.5 win total, man.
You know what's crazy is that Kelly Ford has them at a 70% chance to win at least 6 games.
That's interesting because I'm picking out this schedule and I'm like, I mean,
and it is the second toughest conference schedule in the Big 12.
Okay. Yeah. Again, like when you're looking at it, Houston at home, maybe Oklahoma State at home, maybe West Virginia at home, maybe Kansas at home, maybe North Carolina at home, maybe. That's 5 right there. And then, so obviously if they win 4 of those games and win those first 2, non-conference games, that gets you on the over. I just don't think they're going to hold serve and win all those games at home. I just don't.
Yeah. All right, that's it for our Big 12 win totals episode. It was a blast to have Jake Crain on. Can't thank him once again for coming on. Next time up, SEC time, next Monday. We have a big guest coming on for that. A guy who's not afraid to, drop a scorching hot take or two. So we love that. But yeah, as always, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, that's where you can catch us, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're on socials at Instagram, TikTok, X, all that stuff. We love the interaction you guys are bringing. It's a blast. For Jake Crain and Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.